Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful books ever written, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Now, this isn't some dry academic textbook. It's a raw story of survival told from the inside of a concentration camp.
And it forces us to confront a really tough question. When literally everything is taken away from you, when you're surrounded by unimaginable horror, what is it that keeps a person going? How do you survive something that's unsurvivable?
Well, the answer comes from a perspective that is just staggering. This isn't a doctor in a lab coat studying people from a distance. No, this is psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who himself became prisoner number 19104. He didn't just study survival, he had to live it.
From his own experience and from watching those around him, Frankl saw this psychological journey happening in 3 distinct phases. And it all started the second a prisoner arrived at the camp in a phase he called surviving shock.
Just try to imagine the sheer brutality of arrival. An SS officer would just stand there, casually pointing left or right, in what the prisoners grimly called the finger game. It was a simple gesture, but for about 90% of the people on those trains, a point to the left meant immediate, certain death in the gas chambers. And for the 10% waved to the right, well, for them, a different kind of death began. The total, systematic stripping of their identity. Everything they owned was taken away. Frankl himself lost the manuscript for his entire life's work. Their names were erased, and they were reduced to nothing but a number tattooed on their skin.
And that leads to the endpoint of this first phase. In Frankl's own words, all we possessed, literally, was our naked existence. Every single thing that connected you to your past life, gone. It was a complete annihilation of who you thought you were.
So after that initial brutal shock started to wear off, a really strange new kind of adaptation started to take over. This was the second phase, and Frankl had a chilling name for it: emotional death.
The defining feature of this phase was apathy. But we're not talking about just not caring. This was a necessary defense mechanism. It was an emotional death that created a kind of protective shell, blunting the constant horror and disgust that would just otherwise completely break you.
And the change was just drastic. A new prisoner would be horrified, absolutely sickened by the things they saw every day. But a seasoned prisoner, someone deep in this second phase, could watch the exact same scene and be completely unmoved. Their feelings were so numb that even seeing another person's death became just another part of the daily routine.
But this makes you wonder, right? Is that all survival was? Just becoming emotionally numb? Was the only way to get through it to just feel nothing at all?
No, not even close. In fact, this is where Frankl made his most incredible discovery. He realized that even in the midst of this emotional death, prisoners could escape to a rich inner refuge. They found incredible strength by thinking about a loved one, by using a dark sense of humor as a weapon, or by finding this profound beauty in something as simple as a sunset. This inner world, that was a place the guards could never, ever touch.
And this discovery, right here, is the very heart of Frankl's whole philosophy. It's an idea he later developed into a school of thought called logotherapy. And that word logos, it's Greek for meaning. It's all about the ability to find meaning, even in the absolute worst suffering imaginable.
This one quote pretty much sums it all up. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude, to choose one's own way. Think about that. They couldn't control what was happening to them, but they could always control how they responded. That was the one freedom that could never be taken away.
Frankl used this amazing analogy to explain it. He said suffering is like a gas in a chamber. It just expands and fills the entire space, no matter how big the space is. In the same way, suffering can completely fill the human soul. But here's the flip side. Because the soul is so full of suffering, even the smallest little joy, the tiniest bit of kindness, can feel like the greatest happiness on earth. It brings this immense, incredible relief.
Frankl would often quote the philosopher Nietzsche to drive this point home. He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how. He realized survival wasn't just about getting through the day. It was about having a purpose, a goal for the future, a why, whether that was a person you desperately wanted to see again or a project you needed to finish. That why was everything.
And that brings us to the third and final psychological phase. And honestly, it explores the totally unexpected and really complicated reality of what happens after you're finally free.
You'd think the first feeling of freedom would be this explosion of pure joy, right? But Frankl saw something totally different. He saw this sense of depersonalization, a weird feeling of detachment. The world just didn't feel real. It felt like a dream. After years of dreaming of this exact moment, their minds just couldn't believe it was actually happening.
And this new free world, it came with its own dangers. Survivors felt this deep bitterness towards people who would say shallow things like, "Oh, we've suffered too." They faced this soul-crushing disillusionment when they found out the loved ones they'd been dreaming of for years were gone. And for some, there was a dangerous temptation to flip the script, to use their new freedom to become the ones who inflict pain.
But for those who managed to navigate all of that, a really profound kind of strength emerged. Frankl called it the crowning experience, this incredible, wonderful feeling that after everything they had been through, after all they had suffered, there was literally nothing left in the world to be afraid of.
So, all of this whole journey of experience and insight, it all builds up to what Frankl called life's ultimate question.
Here's his ultimate conclusion. It's a fundamental flip of how we usually look at things. See, most of us go through life asking, what can I expect from life, right? What's in it for me? But Frankl says that is the wrong question entirely. The real question we have to ask ourselves is, what does life expect from me? He puts the responsibility for finding and making meaning right back on our own shoulders.
And that leaves us with the final takeaway. It's a question that echoes from the barbed wire of Auschwitz directly into our own lives, right here, right now. It's a challenge to look past our own circumstances, whatever they may be, and to define the purpose that gives us strength. So the question is, what is your why?